Welcome back to another episode of
The Real Cosmic Joke.
Okay, you guys, we're coming to you. This is going to be our first official Sunday episode. We just decided to do this. It came to us this week. And we are going to just kind of give like a weekly update of our lives and of things going on in the world and how we're moving through them, because I feel like there's so much going on. I think it's important to have conversations around how to move through things in a healthy way. And we're just going to we're going to share in real time how we're moving through things and what that looks like. Cause I think it's easy to talk about. Well, we're still going to be talking about it, but I can't talk today.
Keep talking. Go.
It's easy it's easy to say things, but I want you guys to see us like actually move through things in real time, things that we are currently struggling with or things that are triggering us. I think those things are important to share.
Oh yeah. Jalyn's like,
yeah,
write out, journal everything, and just feel into it. And I made a list of things this week, and I have titles, and they're pretty random. But the top one is sagebrush. We'll get into that one. I'm
very
feeling
excited.
very strongly about sagebrush. And I put I'm being protected. And the next point was pharmaceuticals, death of the divine. That was all one.
Ooh.
And then I have WTF shift ? And that's my list. Well, I have also different, and that's my whole list.
I love that you made a list, and I like wrote out everything with bullet points. Yeah. That's our personalities right there.
Yeah. What do you describe that?
I don't know.
Personality trait. I don't even know.
Just me.
Yeah.
We could probably put a label on it, but who cares?
But sometimes the label's fun, and then the next day you break the label, and it's like, just joking,
not doing it anymore.
I'm a whole different person. And then the next day you go back to whatever label you have. It's just. I've been telling my friends this week, when you just show up and you say, you just say, oh, I'm messy or I'm imperfect. No one ever has expectations of you, so you can literally change your mind from day to day. And people are like, yeah, okay, well. Didn't expect much from her or didn't expect anything, so here she is.
But also, we should just allow that anyways.
Well, I know. But I think we've reached this point of these gurus and these teachers online, and they have all their shit together. And I've been in their personal lives behind the scenes.
And they don't.
And I'm like, how heavy is that to be? You put yourself on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And then everyone else puts you on a pedestal. And then at one point you have to be like, I'm not that pedestal anymore. And that ego shift is quite great. And so I feel grateful that we're starting out this journey in this imperfect way, because we're not pedestaling each other. We're not pedestaling this podcast.
And I don't ever want to. I don't ever want people to. We need to allow people to change. That's called evolving. That's called growth. We have to let people be able to change.
Yeah.
Like if you are presented, if you are presented with new information today about something that you felt strongly about, and you're like, oh my gosh, you should be able to change your mind.
Yeah.
In an instant and be different
or
have a different opinion.
Or just be like, you know what? I'm feeling that and I'm going to sit on that because I don't have a direct response to you.
Yeah. We need to let people change and grow and be human.
Yeah, and we got to stop saying, I told you so.
Even though it's nice.
Even though the divine feminine's like,
or just our ego loves being right.
Yeah, we're like, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to talk about what's gone down this week? I feel like, honestly, when we're recording this, we are on the last day of January. It is January 31st officially, and it has felt like the longest fucking month ever. I know there's always jokes about January lasting forever, but this has felt like a year and a month because so much is happening, but also on an individual level, so much is happening. So much is happening in the collective, but I feel like I have moved through so many things, and I have so many shadows, and I have so many triggers coming up, and I mean, it's been great and hard.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
I think I made a comment recently about being a ball of mashed potatoes.
Yes,
and I still kind of feel like that. I feel like I'm just like, how am I hanging into this world? I don't even understand. And
Charlie loved that part, by the way.
Oh, your daughter?
Yeah. We were in the car on the way home from volleyball last night, and I had like 12 minutes left in the podcast and I hadn't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Hey, can we listen to the last 12 minutes of this?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Is that Baytop?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then it was like right when you were saying the ball of mashed potatoes, and she was just like giggling.
Oh, yes. How old is she? 8 or 9?
9.
I made the 9-year-old giggle. That's cool. Yeah, it's been a whole year. It's been a whole few years packed into one January.
In one
This is
January.
probably my most intense January.
Yeah. I think I actually agree with that. It has
Yeah.
been an intense January.
What's been popping up for you this week?
Okay, well, I mean, maybe in the last like 2 weeks, but I'm gonna give like an overall update because I feel like this has been a lesson. So I got diagnosed with mold poisoning and a couple other things. I get a test every 90 days, an epigenetic hair analysis test. And it's my favorite tool because it gives me like a little roadmap for 90 days. And so I get home, I do all the things. Usually I'm a very quick actor. I know how to heal through things. I know my body. And so I came home, I purchased the things I needed to purchase. And a few days later I had an emotion code appointment, which is kind of like energy work, I guess you could say. And something she brought up was so interesting. She was like, "You have mold poisoning energy in your body and you got it from a building." And she also reminded me, instead of using the words "I have mold poisoning," to say "I am experiencing mold poisoning."
Mm.
So that was really powerful. One, we do not ever want to claim things. And I know we've talked about this in a different episode of, saying like, "I have this, I have ADHD, I have," and of course, we all love the titles. We love to find our people. We love to connect with people who have the same things as us. But instead, try saying, "I'm experiencing this thing," because everything is energy. It's all things moving through our body. It's all bringing up things to be released or whatever. So that was such a good reminder for me because I was a little stressed that it was in my house and I ordered all these mold tests and Sonder went and got tested. He didn't have mold poisoning. So it was all just kind of confirmation. But she said, disassociate with your diagnosis. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, because it's just energy. And so the more energy I'm putting into my
Mm.
diagnosis, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm, obsessing over it and trying to figure it out, the more energy I'm giving to it. So this is not medical advice, by the way. We are not telling you to do any of this. We're just sharing our experiences. But that was such a good reminder for me this week to disassociate from my diagnosis and just listen to my body and trust my body that my body's doing exactly what it needs to, and to continue to detox and do what I know is best for my own body. So that was a big lesson for me and a really beautiful reminder to not get caught up in these things. And also just look at the bigger picture, because sometimes a mold diagnosis can feel so heavy and it's hard. I've never felt brain fog or exhaustion like I have with mold. And
Mm.
so it's really easy to get sucked into like, why is this happening to me again? What is the purpose behind this? It's really easy to get sucked into that. So taking a step back and just seeing like, hey, this is just an energy. I don't know where I got it. I got it from. It doesn't matter, but we're going to clear this out and move it.
I love that breakdown. I actually wrote your notes inside my notes because I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, 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 yes. Talk about your day to day when these thoughts come up that you're like, I mean,
Like my
it's your
frustrations.
frustrations with mold. Yeah. How
Yeah.
are you moving through that?
Well, I will say when I first got the diagnosis, I was almost excited because, I mean, I was having so much exhaustion. I was having a hard time getting out of bed. And I didn't even think it was mold again. I just thought it was the energy of the world. And I've been feeling very in limbo, which I'll talk about later. Just all these feelings. I just thought it was that. And so when I got the mold poisoning diagnosis, I was like, yes, I know how to heal through this. Like, this is easy. So I did feel relief. But then you get home and you get in life again, and I want to feel better. And I'll have moments of frustration. And those are the moments that I stop and I try to just very consciously correct the thoughts that are coming up and to look at more of like, what is this teaching me? Where is the lesson here? And share those things online too. I mean, I
Yeah.
share a lot of my health stuff and it's not for anything other than I want to show people how to move through this, because we can move through this, and our body knows how to move through this. Sometimes it just has to be guided in the right direction, and we have to listen to our own body and not what other people are telling us.
Yeah. I really love that you shared those personal stories online. You do such a good job of just
Thank you.
unfolding, and I think it just makes you relatable, you know? It's like you can do this amount of work and still come across these roadblocks and you're like, "Oh my fucking god, is it done? Is it
Yep,
done yet?"
spot on.
Um,
But isn't that another reminder that healing is not linear again? Because it's like, just because I've healed from mold poisoning again doesn't mean I can't ever get it again.
yeah.
So it's like, now I know what to do, you know,
Yep.
and now I know how to move through it. And now I can remind myself this is just energy. This isn't a forever diagnosis. And when you look at things that way, even if it's something more serious than mold, you take your power back.
Yeah.
We can either take our power back, be empowered, and listen to our body, or we can give our power to this diagnosis and, you know, have those constant negative thoughts. So it really is just pausing and thinking about, you know, what's coming up
The
and
pause.
shifting.
The pause.
The pause.
I don't know why, but I feel like that's a good branding thing.
Okay, I feel like I'm talking so much. So you
Oh my
share.
gosh, I was listening to all our past podcasts and I was like, I'm the one talking too much.
No way. It's funny. Insecurities, I guess.
Oh my, yeah. Well, that's another thing that came up for me this week was, well, you know, I'm perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this podcast, like I'm just cringing at so many things.
It was making me laugh, honestly.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, Jalynn, here comes all my insecurity. I know you might have not seen it before, but it's out here now. And I think about it, and you know, it makes me cry because it's so much deeper than just perfection. It's like a world that has never witnessed me, you know, and it's through life. You have your mom, your dad, your boyfriends, you know, your friends that never see you.
Yeah.
And then you put something out into the world, and in a way it's like every pattern I know is rejection.
Yeah, totally.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
And I just think the feminine has been so deeply rejected that it feels more than just this dynamic right here. It's ancestral, this rejection of the voice and this silencing. And so yeah, it's perfectionism, it's anxiety, it's his deep-seated pain of not being witnessed and to put like a baby out into the world. It just there's a lot that comes up from it. And
there's so many layers.
And yeah, I think I've been really resonating and sitting in the feminine energy and, you know, listening to all these testimonials that have come through from our community. And I mean, these other women who've just what they're experiencing and what they're moving through. And I'm just really sad. I've been really like sad this week.
Yeah.
It's like that perfectionist, but also this deep sadness of, wow, like a lot of people are hurting. Like a lot of people are hurting. And what's the point of this, you know, political division when people are literally hurting? And it's like, how much is some debate or some argument creating more divide and more division? And what is the point? And I really see women being this bridge to healing and this bridge to coming together and supporting outside of the left, the right, the top, the bottom, whatever social, economic, political hierarchy system we've created. And then it goes back to the sagebrush. I know I cry about sagebrush like every week. I don't know, no one knows that, but I do.
I know that. You told me.
And I just walked through the desert, and where I live is they are developing like hundreds and hundreds of acres of homes, and they're just vacation rentals. Like they're not even, you know, well thought out or anything. And it's just fields of these sagebrush just being ripped up. And I talk to plants, as weird as that might sound to people.
It's not weird.
I feel that they're brothers, they're sisters, like they've been in the same family for thousands of years, and we're just ripping them up. And it feels so exploitive that we're paying the masculine to destroy the feminine, and it feels like this divine symbolism of life, and there's no consciousness of it, because it's like I'm sure most of these men are great husbands, great brothers, great fathers,
Totally.
and they have to go out and work, and they don't even consciously probably understand the true destruction of the feminine that's coming
Yeah.
along just like our day-to-day life. And so these deeper philosophical thoughts of, you know, is this enough? Have we reached enough? Like I had one day where I journaled, and the only thing I journaled was one word, and it said enough. Like enough. Have one is enough, enough.
Yeah.
Are we reaching that point right now?
I mean, that's a great question.
What do you feel?
Are we reaching the point of enough? I
Yeah.
would like to think so. I would like to think we're moving into a more conscious time where people are going to think about those things. And I mean, just think about all the things that we can be conscious towards in a day. And that to me makes life so magical, even down to like what you're eating and how you're consuming things and what you're putting on your body. Like everything truly can be a conscious experience. And it does feel very overwhelming. And I've felt a lot of sadness this week, especially getting on social media. Like the same thing you said, it's so heavy on social media and it
Yeah.
makes me so sad. Like people, I mean, someone has come after me this week that I know, someone's come after you this week that you knew a while ago. And the funny thing is both of those situations like were not warranted.
Yeah.
So it's just been interesting. Interesting.
It's
Like
fascinating because I believe we're seeing this timeline shift
yeah, we
that
are.
I'm here to create, and that feminine energy is here to create. And I think what we're witnessing on social media, especially politically, and um, side note, I'm so grateful that TikTok got destroyed for like 12 hours because my algorithm got messed up, probably because the government now owns it. I don't know. But all the political stuff got stripped from my TikTok. And I was like, all right, universe, I guess we'll just go with it. So I've been watching like tarot card readings and, astrology, and just getting back into the creative expression and
Yeah.
craftsman style videos. And it reminded me that the feminine is here to birth, and this is our time, the first time in like 500 years. Like this is our time to birth
Yeah.
creativity, expression. And when we get trapped in these political paradigms, we're actually, I think, catering to this old world and
For
this
sure.
what's falling apart. And it's so
Well, it's
apparent that
like
it's falling apart.
when you look at it from a bird's eye view, and I know I keep saying that, but the visualization that I get is people are fighting about a system they hate, but they're also clinging on to it for dear life.
Yeah.
Like I can just see all these people holding these chains like these chains are blah, 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 but they're also holding on for dear life and they're fighting about them. So it's just like, what are you putting your energy towards? Are you feeding the system that you hate? Are you fueling the fire of the system that you hate?
Yeah.
That's where I'm struggling. Is I get online and I mean, I don't even post political stuff very often. It seems like everything's political nowadays, so it doesn't matter what you post. But I just people are someone will make something political and will turn it on you. So I don't it's just it's very unfortunate.
It's a sad state.
It is. But I see a bigger
And
picture.
yeah, and I think we're quick to say, well, if you're not part of the conversation, you're actually against everything, right? There's that.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say, I worked in politics, and that's a story that I haven't really shared on this podcast. Is I was like one of the top political organizers in the country in 2015 and 16, and one of like the individuals who birthed grassroots organizing on social media. And I have been part of so many political lawsuits with voter fraud and cheating. And I'm well, this is another thing for resume, but I'm probably one of the top organizers, if not the top political organizer to ever come out of the state of Utah. And there's so much pain in politics and so much of myself that I sacrifice
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I realized when I left politics, I didn't love myself. And so my lack of love was showing up every single day fighting for other people, when I realized as I started my healing journey, I have to fight for myself.
Yeah.
And I went through the years of healing. And this past election, um, I ended up getting a bit involved in August because it was the 1 year anniversary of my mom, and she died from this terrible cancer. and there's just a lot of pain, I think, with the vaccine and stuff that came up,
Yeah.
and I just was expressing myself, but then, I ended up not voting because I was like, I don't actually believe in the political party. I was just triggered by my own mom's death, and
Yeah.
I had this pain that I felt like I needed to just shout out to the world, and when I step back and witness just the timeline, August to November, I wasn't in my heart space.
Yeah.
I was in my mind. I was in my analytical mind and my judgment and my fear and everything that was coming up. And I had to step back and be like, wow, what am I really contributing to? And is that the legacy I want to leave? Is this continued contribution of anger?
Yeah. I wish everyone could think like that.
Yeah, but you know what though? Here's the thing too, is something could happen next month that hits us locally, that we get back on social media and back into politics, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
so it's this flow, and I just know I'm happier when I'm birthing
Yeah.
this new world.
I think
And
it just has to come down to each individual person. Like,
yeah.
if it's something you're passionate about, if you're like, hey, I need to speak about this thing, I'm very passionate about it, then show up and share it, but make sure it's coming from a place of like in your heart space, like you said, and not from your ego or from your mind or from a place of hate. So I think that's a good words, a good place just to like step back and take a look at.
Yeah. I feel like I've teetered on both sides politically too.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, I feel like that too. I
yeah,
don't claim a side
me
um
either, yeah.
at all, like at all. Both of the sides make me cringe right now if I'm being
Yeah,
honest. But I can resonate with things on every side because we're
me
all
too.
human and it's all woven together, but the propaganda has created such a wide division.
Mhm.
I mean, people are just like throwing stones at each other. And
Yeah.
the thing is, there's 99% of the time on social media, maybe 99.9%, no one is on there to try to understand your point. So like
No.
what's the point of fighting?
No. It's
You're not going to change anyone's mind. They're not going to change your mind. So it's like, where are we spending our time and energy?
yeah.
So, I mean, the insult that's been thrown at me lately is I've been trying to talk about, like, hey, I'm stepping away from this. Like, this is not fighting online, is not helping anything. And so people are now like, you're privileged. I'm like, because I'm not fighting online, I'm privileged. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I've lived a lot in poverty, and so I used to say the same thing to people. I'd be like, "You're privileged, you don't know." And then I started healing my nervous system, and I'm like, "Wow, I'm literally shifting my entire life and paradigms and everything because of my nervous system is
Yeah.
healed." And so yeah, a lot of people are just projecting because they don't realize the true answers for any solution lies within themselves. We've been taught to give our powers to everything, right? Externally.
Yeah.
You're in your education system, you give your power away to the teacher, right?
Yep.
You disobey the teacher, you're a bad student. You give your power away to the church, to your parents, and it's just a long, I think, at least in the American culture, a long history of us giving our power away. And when you go back into like your indigenous roots, all of us are indigenous. And you look at these rites of passages, and it was all about finding the power within you.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, when they turned a certain age in certain tribes, they would go into wilderness by themselves for 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
so to prepare for that, you're taught this inner power for years.
Yeah.
And it's like we've lost that connection.
Oh boy, we have.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing online though. I want to like wrap this back around to something more like grounding and positive and feel good, because I do think we're seeing things so loud now because it is falling apart.
Enough.
And people will cling on for dear life until the end of things. They will cling on for dear life. Like you're going to see people, like information will be in front of their faces and they're still going to be like, "No!" and be fighting you.
Yeah.
But these systems are slowly breaking down.
Yep.
And it's going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to continue to be very uncomfortable. And that's why I am trying to be a voice of like, hey, if you are not feeling good and you're consuming more than you're creating, maybe just like take a step back.
Yeah.
And easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
Yesterday, speaking of all this, I unfollowed I originally was only like 8 accounts. I ended up unfollowing 20 accounts or 15 accounts, and then I muted probably like 6 accounts. And oh my gosh, my feed. So great.
It's so much happier.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I feel like I get triggered. 2020 really gave me some PTSD because I had so many people coming at me. I was getting death threats and all this stuff, and people just saying, like, you have an audience, you need to use your voice, you need to speak up about this. And then when I would speak up about it, I would get, oh, just annihilated. Like,
Mm.
speak up, but say what we want to hear.
Yep.
Speak up, but not like that.
Yep.
Like
It's
it's
a mob.
insane. So all I can really do is put my energy into myself and my family. That is what we can do right now to really change the collective
Yeah.
is focus on ourselves.
Yeah, you're not avoiding reality because your reality is
Yeah.
what pains and joys are in your own home life.
Yeah, and
What's
we
going on with your husband, your kids? Like
yeah.
there's pain there that you're facing. You're not ignoring it,
Yeah.
but you're choosing your battle right now.
And I can still hold space for what's going on, like the comment of you're privileged because you don't have to pay attention to this. I can see what's going on. I don't need to be fighting and talking about it online to be holding space for it. The things that have happened this week, the plane crash, like I was devastated and I don't know any of them,
Mm.
and I felt deep pain for that and I'm holding space in my own way and I do feel a lot of pain. I feel things so deeply and it's really hard for me to get out of bed some days because of everything that I can feel collectively.
Yeah.
But like that's not going to serve my that's not serving me, that's not serving my family. So I think we just need to let people deal with things how they need to deal with them. And for me, unfollowing, muting some accounts, I want to get on social media and I want it to be a place to uplift me. And it's not because I'm avoiding anything. I am very much working on myself
Yeah.
always, every single
Yeah.
day. I am looking at my triggers. I'm looking at what's going on collectively, but I don't need to be screaming on social media about it to be making a difference
Yeah.
or to be doing whatever. And people are just really struggling with that. But
They
here we
are.
are.
Um and I think, going back to this, what's happening on social media is everyone is debating, and the root form of debate is it's a 2D conversation. So we live in the 3D, and even in the 3D, we're using an old expression to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
and we're moving into the 5D. So the 2D communication is like so outdated even within the 3D. So it blows my mind because to debate is to listen to your truth so I can prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And when I am listening to prove you wrong, I've lost the whole point of a human connection.
Yeah. And you're not
And
truly even listening.
no, you're
You're not
not.
like seeking to understand.
Yeah, it's I think we're in a space where if someone is constantly debating with you and just attacking you for wanting to show up in your heart space, pause
I.
them. Bye. Yeah, let them
I.
go. It's maybe they'll circle. Let's pray that they circle around on their own journey and realize some truth. But I would say don't even debate them. Just say, love you.
Bless and release is what we
Bless.
used to say.
Yep. Namaste away.
Yeah, for us.
Um,
So what does communication look like in 5D? Would you say?
yeah, communication
Like
is
just honoring each other?
so I bought the book Nonviolent Communication, which um a lot of like these like shamans use and stuff like that. And I have some issues with it because I think communication is a control mechanism still. And I think a lot of these really like well-to-do people use certain communication styles to prove a point in a
Or
really
manipulate?
beautiful way, but I can feel their voice because my ability to like spot and hear someone's voice. I'm like, well, you're still not, even though you're saying it so politely, tell me the truth. You're mad at me.
Yeah.
Like, but so this
It's called manipulation.
yeah, but I know they're trying to find the right words so they
Yeah.
are communicating properly. So what is communication of the 5D? And it's, I mean, technically it's like love, having love. And so I guess a lot of these conversations, and I'm still learning communication, it's one of my goals this year. But when I have an issue with you, I actually don't point out you so much as I just say, I have this deep-seated fear. When I hear this come out, I have this deep-seated fear of abandonment or this or this or this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm struggling with it. And then you hear this fear and why I feel triggered by whatever you said.
Yeah.
And then there's supposed to be some coming together through that.
I love that.
But I have to work on that more.
Well, I feel like I've heard that in therapy, like couples. You're not ever supposed to say you did this. You're supposed to say I feel this way because of this.
Yeah, and I don't even in therapy, do they even get to the root? Like I feel this way because
I mean,
I
that's
have this
why
deep-seated fear of abandonment.
that's why I stopped going to therapy. I just feel like this is a whole nother topic.
Oh yeah,
I just
most
feel like
therapists are not right spiritually.
well, and I just
Sending
feel
me out.
like I was going to therapy to talk through religion, trauma, and that stuff, but we never actually got to the root cause. It was always like talk about how this makes me feel. It was like a circle.
It was.
And so we never actually got deep enough. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And then I went to plant medicine.
Yeah.
Another topic, another day.
Yeah,
But
actually that'd be a good podcast episode because I also been to a lot of therapy and it validated that I wasn't like insane.
yeah,
And then I was like, all right, now I got to go on to the next stage of
yeah,
healing, which is not therapy.
yeah.
Um
Serves a purpose for some people sometimes to a certain extent.
if yeah, it does.
And if you can find the right person who can
Yeah.
help you actually like see things from a different perspective. But if you're just going there and talking about things and going in circles, it's
There's
not.
a lot of enablement.
You can do that with your husband at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're just
Yeah.
talking in circles.
I feel like that's
Anyways.
kind of there's a lot of enabling that happens in the mental health space because they're missing the whole body
Yeah.
aspect of living. Like, I mean, I just think for so many women, our nervous systems are so wrecked that we're having emotional responses and we want to live in our heart, but like a toxic emotion is we're lashing out all the time. We're doing these things and it's like we have poor gut health. We have a bunch of parasites eating our brain away. So it's there's so many root things that just go
there's so many.
unaddressed.
So many.
Okay, just ask ChatGPT, okay?
Okay, what else you got for us this week?
Yeah. What is this one? What the fuck shift? Question mark. What is the shift that's happening? And you brought it up a little bit with these Facebook comments. You're like, wait, why are people tagging me in this? It just doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, do you want to expand what you're feeling with this shift this week?
Let's see if I can even explain it. I just feel like we are moving on. We are in a different timeline shift. And what that means is this can get very complex. So we're not going to get too complex with it. But when you hear the expression, we create our own reality, you truly can create your own reality. So I think we're seeing a timeline shift where people who are ready to move into a higher frequency, this isn't like everyone like good, better, best. This is just different frequencies moving into a different frequency. And those people that are truly just not wanting to show up, not wanting to work on themselves, constantly focused on the negative, think the world's ending, like that's the reality they're experiencing. So we can be living next to each other and be experiencing two different realities. And I think the best example of that is 2020. You could be standing next to someone and be experiencing a completely different reality than them. And that is probably the best example I have.
Yeah.
So when we say like timeline shift or whatever, well, I guess you can expand on that because I feel like a timeline shift could be as a collective, we have shifted into a new timeline collectively. So there's so many different like levels to this that we could dive into. I probably said the completely wrong thing, just barely.
No, you said everything correctly.
Oh,
I mean,
perfect.
we could probably put this in another podcast episode.
But we'll just talk about what we're experiencing this week, though, because I did feel that too. We did feel like
shift.
There was a shift.
It feels like in my body there is peace to before I used to have reaction. Even 2 weeks ago, something I reacted to, I now think about it and feel into it. I'm like, oh, I'm just at peace with it. And for me, it just feels like this big ego crash of, what identity or what thoughts or reactions was my ego holding on to that even in a week, it feels like it's shifted.
Yeah.
And you're doing these light code healing or this, what is it?
The emotion code.
Yeah. And I'm doing a light code quantum healing thing that I meet with every week.
Yeah.
And I basically stare at these like crazy images and then it's like a whole hour-long meditation. But I'm feeling all of this ancestral just purge of energy and I don't know if it's just the vibration of humanity or it's this experience with this quantum healer, but I feel there's been more of a jump in consciousness and in the last month than I've had in like years.
Yeah. Um,
What do you have on your list? What's
well, the only other thing that just popped into my mind was the Elizabeth April video. There was like 3 bullet points. Are you okay if I read those?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you guys, Elizabeth April, she doesn't do a ton on Instagram. She kind of just shares her offerings, but she has a website. She's on YouTube. She's just really resonated with me and helped me expand my mind, and she also helps ground me by sharing a bigger perspective. So, she does remote viewing, and she um got a message from the GFL, which is the Galactic Federation of Light, aliens, whatever you want to call them.
Okay, welcome to the weird
I
side.
know, here we go. I know. And you guys, this might be when I first started following her, I unfollowed her when she started talking about aliens because I was like, oh, this chick's crazy. And then I found her again like several months later. And now I'm just like, yes, this
Yeah,
resonates.
I've unfollowed her and followed her probably like 20 times over the
Yeah.
past 5 years.
Yeah. So these messages, I wrote them in all caps lock. They just resonated so deeply. So this is advice from the GFL on how to really deal with what's going on. And moving forward. Okay, so the first one was you must be willing to change rapidly. So basically, don't attach yourself to anything. Don't attach yourself to politics. Don't attach yourself to, people, places, things, anything. Just don't attach yourself to things because things are shifting rapidly. And if we're not attached, it's going to be so much less painful to move through these things when you aren't attached to these like massive identities. Oh my gosh, that's what the next one is. You must not attach yourself to materials, identities, or belief systems. So there we go. So good. So you must not attach yourself to materials, identities, or belief systems. And then the last thing was in order to trust, you must confront your fears and apply your full conscious awareness to the present. By doing so, your transition will be graceful. I love that. In order to trust, you must confront your fears and apply your full conscious awareness to the present. By doing so, your transition will be graceful, and grateful. Um, so yeah, I think like that right there, if you just focus on that moving forward, I feel like this transition is going to be very smooth. So for me, I unfollowed, and it's important to me to follow different perspectives on different accounts. But yesterday, I put my foot down because I'm like, I know we are not going into a new world order. I know the world's not ending. That is my belief. And so, like, I don't want to follow accounts that are pushing that the world's ending. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want that in my subconscious. I don't want that in my conscious. I don't want that anywhere near me. So just detach yourself from all these ideologies and all these things. They're not serving us, and we're moving into a more individualized energy, which just means that we all get to individually just be who we are. We don't have to
Yeah.
fit into a box. We don't have to have a label. We don't have to fit into a religion unless you want to, unless it's serving you. But we're moving into this space where people aren't going to be trying to put everyone in boxes and fight about it all the time. So you're seeing all this pushback and all this fighting we're seeing right now is because it is crumbling and people are going to hold on until the very last second. So
Yeah.
trying to stay out of that as much as possible and seeing a bigger perspective is going to be very life-saving. And yeah, the transition will be graceful if you detach from all of those things.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It feels like this destruction of humanity is really just like this mass ego death. And one of for years I've just gotten visions about what could be in the world and what is happening and um the election cycle, some timeline shifted and it was almost like the universe came to me and said, every vision we gave you of destruction, you now have 3 years to to share love and be love and to show up differently
Mm-hmm.
so that destruction never hits. And
Yeah.
it was the first time I felt hope in probably like 5 or 6 years from. I mean, it's quite painful to be shown like
Well, yeah,
some
that's a
future
lot to
timeline, and
hold.
I'm like, "Why did you give that to me? Oh my gosh." Um, but I have hope, and one of the examples I read that I have always resonated with is the Hopi prophecies. You can Google it. It's very profound, and it talks about the coming of times and whatnot. Inside the Hopi prophecies, it was about 150 years ago, something that it came. And they talked about earthquakes and wildfires and all this destruction. And they said in the 80s that a giant earthquake would rock all of California and it would be destroyed. And so for years, the Tibetan monks, after knowing of that prophecy, they prayed about California. And I think we've all seen that picture of the California earthquake where the cars are crunched between the highway and like a few people died. But that was the earthquake that was supposed to reset all of California, and the Tibetans literally prayed it away, so there was minimal damage.
Yeah.
And it reminds me that when we do show up in more love, like obviously face your shadows, face your demons, and continue to show up, but the more gratitude and love we show up, we get to collectively make massive impacts and changes just like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to believe that my fellow Americans are going to die. I don't want to believe that the world is going to die and we're going to have a huge population decrease. I do not want to see the physical death of anyone, the sickness. I
No.
don't want to see that.
No.
And I'm refusing that timeline.
Me too.
Yes.
I refuse.
I refuse. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Your journal entry. Enough.
Enough.
Okay.
Period. Okay.
Can I leave with one more thing?
Oh, please, please, please.
Okay, so Elizabeth April asked, his name's Kinetic, the interdimensional being. She said, what are the tools that can help us get through this transition? And he said, once you make a connection to your inner reflections, all other answers will be clear. The pathways will align with ease. Health issues, financial lack, and dietary imbalances will all see resolutions once you begin to listen inside and take action on what you hear. Everything else is an illusion. Your world will better understand the word illusion in the coming years. Your inner compass is the only thing that truly exists. I don't think I could, that was like so powerful to me.
Yeah.
And so exciting because I'm dealing with all of that shit right now. Health issues, financial lack, dietary imbalances. I'm like, okay, time to go inward. But yeah, you guys write that down, honestly. That gave me chills when I heard it, and it just gave me so much hope. So I hope it gives you hope because good things are coming. Good things are here. They're here.
They're here
every single day. And bigger, better things are also coming, but we have to hold space for where we're at and just tune into your own body,
Yeah.
trust yourself, and try to do things with love and feel your feelings,
Yeah. I've been asking the universe for a lot of gentle lessons. And an example, is I had this big issue with someone and it blew up and I, just felt in my ego and it was, a few days of crying and life happened in this processing, but I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose like my access to food or my health and these things. And so while it felt like a very hard lesson, it was gentle in the fact that my whole world didn't blow up because of that one thing. It just allowed me to just purge and shift. And it was painful on my ego.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'll take more lessons like that. Then I don't
the
want
only person who's like, okay, next.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't want a lesson where my house gets destroyed or like people die around me. Like I don't want just
gentle.
I'll cry about it for a few days, but I'll come back into it, please. So ask your spirit guides for those gentle lessons. And I think we get to choose this growth of, I want to say effortlessness, because if it's expected, if growth is expected, it gets to be effortless, I think.
Yeah, because then you're welcoming it and it's just like, okay, here's a lesson. Like, what are we going to learn from this?
Yeah.
Instead of fighting it. I think the more we fight it, the more painful the lesson is.
Yeah. I would like some pain-free
lessons.
Pain-free. I mean, they're all.
Then we just need to surrender to it.
Yeah.
It's easier without being attached, right?
Yes. Okay.
We're ending there.
That's it. We're done.
That's the whole lesson for today.
Go find us on social media.
Bam.
Awaken.
Expand. Laugh. Repeat.
Laugh,
we don't know.
Repeat.
It's fine. All the things.
All the things. You beautiful souls. And yeah, let us know how you're feeling. I want to hear your feelings. If we don't even know each other, inbox me on Instagram. Send me an audio message. I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Love
Thanks
you
for
guys.
listening. See
Bye.
you next time. Bye.